the sixth and final round of the Daniel Ricciardo series. We're here in Lincolnshire. The Fulbeck circuit is the host of this weekend's action, and it is safe to say the weather is damp. It's poured down most of the day, most of the morning. It was wet yesterday as well for a period. The drivers have a tricky task in these conditions and a very technical kart circuit as well. I headed out this morning to have a look around this Fulbeck circuit. Welcome to the Daniel Ricciardo series. We are here in Lincolnshire for round 6, the final round of this year's championship. We've managed a pandemic, we've managed 6 months of racing, and now we need to manage the rain and the wind here at Fulbeck. Let's go and have a look at a very wet Fulbeck circuit. So this 1950s airbase, the old RAF Fulbeck, gives a great challenge for drivers. Long straights, tight corners, starting with this first chicane, the run up to the first chicane. So a long straight, the start finish line is here. It's quite a flat circuit here, not much undulation, but it is quite coarse. As I say, 1950s, it's been here a long time. So it gives a great challenge for the drivers. We will see some good overtaking as well. Everything we need for the final round of the championship. And the entry into the first chicane, so 2 bus stop chicanes here. There's one here at turn 1. If we go right onto the other side of the circuit behind us, you'll see the other one on the far side, almost opposite each other, these 2 bus stop chicanes. Think Spa, that last chicane at Spa, very similar, tight, twisty. Drivers have to get them right. We were talking also about the coarseness, how tough this circuit is. Just have a look down here. This is on the way into this little mini crater on the way into. There's another one just behind us here. This is all in the braking zone for this turn 1, so expect it to be tough under braking. Drivers have to come in, certainly be dealing with the slippery wet conditions this morning, certainly trying to find the right line into this chicane. Let's go and have a look at it as well. The drivers will stay away from the curbs. The curbs are quite tasty here. They are quite big, although you can see where some drivers have taken a whole chunk of curb and taken the paint off the curb here into turn 1. This is all about momentum. Expect to see drivers take that wider line in the wet conditions, just slightly off the racing line, slightly away from the rubber, and try and just set themselves up in the first part of the corner to get the best possible exit on the way out. This is super tight in here. You don't realise how tight it is until you actually get to it and you see it in the flesh. It's a real hard left turn, but they've got to try and keep it onto the left curb to get the best run out into the best overtaking opportunity here at Fulbeck. And we're here at turn 2, this long sweeping right-hander, one of, if not the best overtaking opportunity that you'll get here at Fulbeck. The drivers will come off quite a long straight from the first chicane, so exit speed from that chicane is absolutely critical, and they will look to dive down the inside. 180 degrees, comes all the way around and back on itself, and then it's another blast downhill into the second chicane. You will see overtaking here. You'll also see a very wide line from the drivers in the wet conditions, trying to avoid that rubber, trying to avoid that slippery surface on the usual racing line. This corner could be key. We're at the furthest point away from the start-finish line of the circuit. This could be key to set you up for the second half of the lap. And on the exit of turn 2 is one of these sausage curves, one of these curves that's quite abrasive. It certainly will give the drivers a good rattle around if they land onto this curb on the exit of turn 2, so they will want to try and keep it neat and tidy. But just look at that run all the way down to the second chicane. Lots of opportunities to get in the slipstream, to get a toe in behind the driver in front and try and find a way through under braking into the second chicane. And the second chicane here is more or less identical to the first. Drivers will need to carry as much momentum through these corners as they can. And really, it's not about the chicane itself, it's about the exit speed down towards the bottom end of the circuit. If you look at it again, this curb's a little bit more friendly, a little bit flatter. You can see where the drivers have run over the paintwork on the rumble strip as well. So There is always a little bit of standing water in the chicane as well in the wet conditions, so little things for the drivers to be aware of, to consider as they come into these corners. Again, lots of them will try and sacrifice entry speed for exit speed, although the danger with that is you do run the risk of somebody diving up the inside and taking a place away. And here at the entry to turn 4, this is where the circuit changes. We've gone from long blasts to tight chicanes, tight corners. All of a sudden, this is all mid-range, it's all technical, it's all an opportunity for the drivers to make sure they are pinpoint accuracy with their lines. Not an awful lot of overtaking, there may be a little bit coming down the inside into turn 5. Turn 4 here is very quick. The drivers will try and get onto the apex, although probably not in the wet conditions, probably be around about where I am at the moment on this sort of more grippy. You can almost feel it, it's more coarse underfoot. Whereas if I head over onto the racing line here, it's certainly more slippery, undoubtedly, where the rubber has been laid down. So expect the drivers in the wet to be over here. Expect them in the dry to be a little bit close to the apex. What all the drivers will want to do is quickly get the car back onto the left-hand side for turn 5, although the brave drivers will stick it down the inside, just hold that inside line and just try and sneak a place into turn 5. And the hairpin right at turn 5, a little bit of standing water here at the moment, a little bit of standing water on the outside and on the inside of the corner as well, so I do expect turn 5 to be a great overtaking opportunity, but it might just differ. Drivers just have to be careful of the aquaplane, the fact that the wheels sometimes skim across the top of standing water. So what a challenge for the drivers today in these conditions. We do expect the rain to go away from about lunchtime, but this morning certainly a real challenge for these drivers. And remember, drivers will have different mentalities towards today's racing. Some drivers are out front trying to preserve leads, others can go on the attack and be a little bit braver. This is the sort of place I expect drivers to be that little bit braver coming into turn 5. And on the exit of 5, another quite violent, quite severe curb on the exit. So drivers want to get the best possible run on this short straight, this back straight. I had a huge engine failure here once on this back straight, huge back straight, down towards the last overtaking chance and the last really technical section of the circuit. It's one of the most historic corners in British kart racing down there at turn 6 here at Fulbeck, and it does set you up for the rest of the lap, but it's very technical. There's a lot of series of corners you have to get right. The other point here, we talked about standing water. If you look at the exit of turn 5 at the moment, you don't just get an indication of the standing water, but the wind here as well. It's really windy today. You can see the wind pushing the rain, and you know, we've got a small swimming pool here for the drivers to deal with as well, right in the middle of turn 5. So expect, certainly when you're watching the footage today, expect drivers to have to combat some of these challenges. And the lap finishes here at Fulbeck, as we said, with this really complex series of corners. The anvil, as it's known, turn 6 here at Fulbeck. It starts really quickly. Drivers will fly into here. It almost feeds into the corner, drags you into the corner. But you want to keep it nice and neat and tidy, because the exit of this second right-hander is the real key to get you that great run all the way out and back up to start finish. So let's go and have a quick look now. As we say, it's quick. It filters and funnels you into the corner, so you almost let the kart drive you on the way into here, nice and tight on the apex to the left. Let the kart roll onto the apex of the right, and then all of a sudden there's a second right-hander that you almost don't feel, you almost don't see it, and it's just about here you need to give it a little bit more turn, a little bit more lock to get you into this longer right-handed corner. Then from there, it's let the kart roll onto the exit of this stadium section, this bottom section of the circuit. We've just got the pit lane entry here as well. The dummy grid is just on the far side. Fairly nasty curb on the exit as well. Drivers will want to avoid that, or they will get a bit of a shudder, a bit of a jump. In the dry, this is so grippy. You'll see almost karts bouncing under the grip as the mechanical energy goes through the tyres. In the wet, it becomes super slippy. Again, need to get the best possible angle, the best possible line. You won't see drivers in the wet conditions turn in about here, which would be the dry lap. Expect them to turn in a little bit closer to this sort of point here. What that does, gives you a straight line on the exit, and that's what drivers will want to do today. The best drivers who combat these conditions will try and straight line this Fulbeck circuit as much as they can, wider onto the entry, hit the apex and straight line the exit. That is the quickest way around Fulbeck in the wet. From here it's momentum, it's speed and momentum. How quickly can you get with a minimum turning, the minimum effort onto these Daniel Ricciardo series karts? Because this left-hander that takes you all the way back up to start finish is flat in the dry. In the wet, it's a little bit more tricky because you're trying to carry as much speed as you possibly can. So a really complex section of the circuit. Don't expect to see loads of overtaking. If the drivers are really brave, you can nip up the inside. If you get a great run off here, you can get up the inside into that final turn. But don't expect loads of overtaking here. This is more about momentum, more about trying to secure a strong lap time than gaining places. And that's it, a lap of Fulbeck here in Lincolnshire for round 6, the final round of the Daniel Ricciardo series. The last thing for the drivers to do is take the long drag up the start finish straight and try and get their nose over the line in front of everyone else. We will have 3 new Daniel Ricciardo series champions today. Who will it be? You'll have to join us this afternoon on the live stream on YouTube and on Facebook to find out. But for now, let's see how the drivers get on in qualifying. So welcome back everyone to round 6 of the Daniel Ricciardo series here at Fulbeck. It's a delayed start, but it is a start nonetheless, and we are almost ready to get the day's action underway. You will have seen, if you've been watching the live stream on YouTube or our Facebook page, you will have been well aware of the delays that we've had today. Those delays have been ultimately through the weather. We had a huge downpour, torrential rain, persistent torrential rain between around about 9:30 and 10:30, 11 o'clock here. That flooded the circuit, absolutely flooded it. It was bouncing off the start-finish line at one point, and we had significant areas of standing water on the circuit. That now, thankfully, has more or less dispersed. We had a break in the clouds about 15-20 minutes ago. The sun is now shining over us here in Lincolnshire, and there was still is a couple of areas of concern, but there's drivers that have been out on circuit and just tested the water, if you like, to make sure that everything was as it should be. And from a safety perspective, the officials and the steward are happy for us to get underway. The DRS62's engines are turned over, and they are about to get underway here for our first of the qualifying sessions. They're going to be led out by Jack Robinson, who is the man in the box seat to try and overtake Conor Scarisbrick for the championship. Into the chicane they go. They all stream out. You can just see a little kick up of spray, if you like. We'll follow the drivers round for a lap or two and just try and give you an indication of the areas. You can see the spray comes off the tyres of the drivers as they go through the particularly wet parts of the circuit. Really any real standing water now, is there, other than that little section into the paddock area? Coming back onto the main straight, they're coming down now towards the second chicane. That little right-handed kink, it's flat out for these DRS62 drivers. Even in the wet conditions, that's the case. It's through that left, right, left. Oh, we've got a driver off. We've got 2 drivers off, so very slippy then on the way into the left-hander at turn 4. And that's caught a couple out on that first lap. You'd have thought the drivers would have been a little bit overcautious on that first lap, just trying to get used to the conditions, but a couple have done a bit too much, and there is a waved yellow flag, of course, on the way into turn 4. So here are the leaders on the road. We will get the live timing in place and see who is going to make the early running. The DRS62s, remember, championship points available.
for this qualifying session. So those that are in the hunt for the championship need to be right at it from minute 1. And with only 5 minutes of this qualifying session available, they've got to get out there and get a time on the board as quickly as they possibly can. I'm just looking now at the drivers going through the chicane. Through the right-hander, and then down the hill go this current group in qualifying. So drivers to look out for. Jack Robinson is the fastest so far, 1:01.9 for him. Oscar Walsh second fastest, Ewan Scott third, Scarisbrick is fourth, and Zach McDonald is fifth. Jackson Lane just moves up into sixth, the 1:31, and then Harry Bartle is seventh fastest at the moment. Again, we've already had half of the time of this qualifying session, so the sun is absolutely beaming down on us. So it may change from lap to lap. These conditions may change from lap to lap. We've still got a waved yellow flag into turn 4. I wonder if there's a kart on the exit of 4. We'll keep an eye on that. And here come some more of the drivers. The rookie drivers donated by the black number plate. They're the rookie drivers. And the number plates, the yellow number plates, the drivers that have had a season more established. And here is a couple of those drivers through to complete another lap. There's that waved yellow flag. Now, why is that? It's because there's a kart in the middle of between turn 4 and 5. Not really anywhere you can put it either. They can't get it back on the road. There's not really anywhere, any escape road or anywhere they can put that kart. So that yellow flag I would expect to stay out for the majority of the session now. So, in terms of the quickest driver, we're doing about 1:02s a lap or so ago, and then Harry Bartle has just done a minute flat, so he's just gone around about, well, 1.7 seconds quicker than everybody else on circuit. Harry Bartle just managed to hook things up. The times will come down every single lap, and we've just got around about a minute to go here, so those drivers about to cross the line will only get really probably only get one more shot at it. Let's have a look. There's another yellow flag going into turn 6, which is the complex section at the end of the lap. Here is Robinson over the line to start probably his last flying lap. Jack Robinson, he's done a 1:01.4. They're all still 7/10 slower than Harry Bartle. Remember, Harry Bartle still in this championship, but only just because he missed a round. So he really has to be absolutely at his best and hope that others trip up on this Sunday's round 6, the final round. Bartle, Robinson, Walsh, Scott, Scarisbrick. So championship leader, Conor Scarisbrick, only 5th fastest at the moment. How important will that be come 3 o'clock this afternoon? Does he need to find a little bit more time, Scarisbrick? Under a little bit of pressure here. Here comes the checkered flag. So this will be the last lap for these drivers to come through on their qualifying session. Round the final corner, here come there is Harry Bartle, the fastest man. Robinson has just completed his last flying lap. It's no better from him. 1:01.7 last time. Walsh and Scarisbrick goes one quicker up to 4th. 1:02 flat for Scarisbrick, dislodges Ewan Scott, drops him down to 5th, and then Zach McDonald knocks him down to 6th as well. So Ewan Scott not having the best of the end of the session. All the drivers are through with the exception of Jackson Lane. Jackson Lane goes up to 4th. So Scarisbrick is demoted back down to 5th. Who else moves in these closing stages? Nat Johnston into 11th and Oliver Harrison up into 13th. I think pretty much everybody else has been through. Last couple just coming across the line now. They are Lewin Aid and Cruz Dalton in 12th. Aid is 16th. So they have all concluded their 5-minute sprint qualifying session. And Harry Bartle is fastest of them all. Jack Robinson, who is 2nd in the championship, 2nd on the road. Now, the important thing here is he will have taken some points back from Conor Scarisbrick. 5th fastest for Scarisbrick, 2nd for Robinson. So that's probably the perfect start for Robinson. Bartle as well, fastest. He's third in the championship. So they will have both taken some points back from Conor Scarisbrick in that qualifying session. It also gives them obviously track position or grid position for the first heat. And these heats will be a sprint. They will be quick. They will be, I would imagine, fairly chaotic, fairly all action. Those 5-minute first heats. So Scarisbrick, 5th fastest. Bartle, fastest man, 1 minute point 923. Jack Robinson, 2nd fastest. He was what was he, 6/10 slower than Harry Bartle. So Bartle certainly has got the pace in the wet conditions. Oscar Walsh, 3rd fastest, the top rookie as well. Jackson Lane, 4th. Conor Scarisbrick, 5th. Zach McDonald, 6th. Ewan Scott in 7th. Liam Karbalov was 8th fastest. Oscar Walsh was 9th. And Benjamin Baker was 10th. So that's the first. So we got through that with no real concerns. And we'll be back in just a few minutes' time with the DRS125 qualifying scheduled off for around about 12:45. So all that optimism about improving weather conditions, and we're in the middle of a little deluge at the moment. So something else for the drivers to consider, something else they need to be aware of. They may have set carts up and tyre pressures for drying conditions. It's now back to the greasy, full wet here. What I would say is it's quite an abrasive circuit, so the abrasiveness of the circuit actually gives it a good traction in the wet. There's a couple of tricky corners. The left-hander at turn 4, which just tends to slide away from you a little bit off camber. And then actually the corner leading on to the start-finish line, which is flat out in the dry for everybody, but is actually a little bit treacherous in the wet conditions. The little left-hand kink. There's a curve that appears at you very quickly on the right-hand side as well, if you get that wrong. So the DRS62s then are on the grid with their umbrellas up. Really quick turnaround for drivers today. I actually much preferred that as a driver. I much prefer to not have long periods of waiting around in the paddock in your awning. I'd rather get on with it. The other change, obviously, the other thing to be aware of on these starts is the first chicane is out of play on the first start. So the drivers will actually have a huge drag race up towards the right-hander at turn 2 on the first lap. Then when they come back round to complete that first lap, they'll then go back through the chicane. That's a standard practice here at Fulbeck for as long as I can remember. It's actually quite a decent run up to that first corner on the opening lap, turn 2. And a good chance to make a couple of overtaking manoeuvres as well if you can get a good run. What the drivers will see is they'll have a bit of spray now to deal with. They'll have a little bit of visibility, a little bit of a tougher visibility to handle. So they're sat there with their umbrellas on. Wait for the umbrellas to be removed, which is just around about now. Is it? No. Just got another 30 seconds or so before the start of this qualifying session. There's an indication of the weather at the moment and the wind as well. Don't just have to consider the water that's coming out of the sky, but the wind direction, the wind speed can make a difference with setup, can make a difference with track conditions, can make a difference in terms of how the car handles as the wind swirls around. So DRS62, the umbrellas do come down then. The DRS62 karts are started and on their way. Harry Bartle on the inside of the front row. Jack Robinson alongside him. Robinson, the main threat to the championship, to the leader, Conor Scarisbrick. There was only, 12 points between them. He's probably taken another couple of points out of him now. We'll try and get you an update as and when, in terms of how these initial races, qualifying sessions, are going to impact on the overall points. It's still raining. The good news about the deluge this morning is we've got some decent sized puddles around the place. We can see how heavy it's raining from our vantage position. So 5 minutes plus 1 lap. There's a couple of them. It's really treacherous, isn't it, turn 4? A couple of them have slipped up there. So a couple of these DRS62 drivers slipped up. Here's another one, just at the bottom of your pitch there. Oh, just caught that's the danger, because on the curb itself, you're okay. You put a wheel off the curb, and there's a huge puddle there. So it then captures the right tyres, and you lose complete control. It sucks you into the grass, and almost you start to see the barrier coming up towards you quite quickly, which is not a very comfortable place to be, I can assure you. There are 2 rolling laps for these drivers. So 2 opportunities to get heat into the tyres, into the brakes before we start. This first heat for the DRS62s then. We're coming round the bottom straight into the stadium section, the anvil. A left, a couple of rights, a little straight, another right, and then a left flick onto start finish, where they'll be brought under the orders of the starter, and we will try and get this first heat away first time. Certainly wouldn't help the schedule if there's a lot of false starts today, would it? So let's see if we can get them off and running. Bartle's got the drop. It's not the tidiest of starts, but we are go. Bartle then into the first corner first, and rain really hammering it down now. So Bartle will come into turn 2 in the lead. Runs a little bit wide. They're almost all taking different lines and all falling over each other as they go through that first corner, down then towards the second hairpin. Bartle it is who leads. Do they all manage to get through in one piece? They do. It's actually is it Oscar Walsh, the 120, up in second place? It is. So Walsh then moved up into second place, really starting to pour down here now. You can see it on the screen. These conditions have changed for these drivers, even in the last 30 seconds or so. Significantly wetter now than it was earlier on. You can see from the spray that these DRS62 karts are kicking up, but not a problem with spray for Harry Bartle. Crosses the line in the lead. Oscar Walsh is in second. Jackson Lane is up into third, and then Jack Robinson is fourth. Ewan Scott is fifth. Scarisbrick then, 6th place for Conor Scarisbrick. He's got a championship lead to hold on to here. 6th place, especially if Robinson can make a couple of places, will not be enough to keep that gap at 12 points. Let's keep an eye on the likes of Robinson. At the moment, the man who's doing his best, that's all he can do, Harry Bartle, is get out front, try and win as many as he can, and hope that the likes of Robinson and Scarisbrick make mistakes that bring him back into the championship fold as well. The 1-3-4 there of Aaron Haywood dropped back to the back of the field, and he'll be joined at the back of the field now by the 1-2-5 of Oscar Cole. So Oscar Cole, a little mistake there in the wet conditions. Here is the leader coming over halfway. We've got 2 minutes of this first heat remaining as the sun comes out again. It's amazing, isn't it? We're seeing every possible weather condition in the microclimate that is Fulbeck at the moment. It's still raining, by the way, but the sun is shining, and we've got a huge rainbow over start finish. So there is Harry Bartle. He's mastered the conditions very, very well indeed so far. He's got an advantage of around about 2 seconds between himself and Oscar Walsh. He's now into turn 5, this long right-hander. We'll bring the kart back over onto the right-hand side for the entry into turn 6, and there's the 1-3-1 then of Jackson Lane. So Jackson Lane, who was all the way up into 3rd place at one point, now drops all the way back to the back of the field. He's back into 11th place, or he was just before that incident. And Scarisbrick has made a couple of places as well, so good recovery here from Scarisbrick. He's managed to find a way past Jack Robinson past Nat Johnston. Nat Johnston's made a lot of places as well, hasn't he? What a good drive from him in this first heat. Johnston up from 11th to 6th then. Oscar Cole up into 8th, and Benjamin Baker is up to 10th. They stream through once more. We're just going to have about a minute and a half here remaining. So Harry Bartle, Oscar Walsh, Ewan Scott, Connor Scarisbrick. Jack Robinson is 5th. So Robinson could do with just closing this gap on Connor Scarisbrick, could do with finding a way through. He's got 2 or 3 kart lengths to go to get on terms with the championship leader. Not managed to do it at the moment. Bartle, 3rd in the championship. Where's Oscar Walsh? Oscar Walsh 2nd, 4th in the championship. So they will take some points away from Connor Scarisbrick this time round. Here is Harry Bartle. He'll get through. Will he get through one more? Probably not. I'd imagine next time round will be Harry Bartle's last lap. So they've strung themselves out very quickly, haven't they? Here, let's keep an eye on this battle between the championship leader and the championship 2nd place. Scarisbrick 4th on the road, Robinson 5th on the road. Can he find a way past in the remaining lap and a half that he'll have here? Down the hill then and into the left-hander. He's a little bit closer, isn't he, this time, Robinson? Close right up under brakes as well. He's right there now. Will Robinson have a little look into the left-hander? No. The right-hander at turn 5 is a decent overtaking opportunity. He goes to the outside and Scarisbrick manages to hold him off. This is the battle for 4th and 5th, but it's also the battle for 1st and 2nd in the championship. Keep an eye on these two. He's going to have 1 lap to go. Bartle's crossed the line to start his final lap. Oscar Walsh is 2nd, a distant 2nd. Then Ewan Scott is 3rd. And then this battle then between Scarisbrick and there's contact a little bit further down the field. Last lap then, if Robinson can find a way past Scarisbrick. He needs the championship points. Will they have a look down the inside into turn 2? No, nothing doing there. He's not close enough there, is he? I don't think. Can he get a decent run? He was very good under brakes into this hairpin, into this chicane last time. Will he cruise up behind under brakes this time? No, not really. He's within striking distance just about. He's probably going to need to dive down the inside. Will he have a look at turn 5? This is the chance then. Again, he goes a little bit more conservative, then dives to the inside. Has he found a way through on the exit? It's a drag race. No, he hasn't. Scarisbrick keeps him at bay, so not really a really decisive move from Jack Robinson. A couple of half moves. He's having another look, isn't he? He's having another look, but again, it's only a real half move and hasn't managed to find a way through. It'll be a drag race up to the line between these two, and he's not going to be able to do it. Scarisbrick then holds on to 4th place. Robinson is 5th, but Harry Bartle then doing what he can to keep his hopes alive. He finished his 1st in the first heat. Oscar Walsh is 2nd. Good drive from Ewan Scott into 3rd. Scarisbrick was 4th. Jack Robinson was 5th. So what a well-managed race from these young drivers, 8 to 12 years old. They had a monsoon to deal with as they went out. Now the sun's come back out and it's just starting to clear up again. But Harry Bartle then takes maximum points. So maximum points from the qualifying session, maximum points from the first heat. He's going to need a bit of luck in terms of something to happen really to Connor Scarisbrick and Jack Robinson. But he's doing his bit at the moment, Harry Bartle, isn't he? He's just keeping himself, he's keeping the others honest. That's what he's doing. Keeping himself in and around it. So now then, in just a moment's time, we'll have the DRS125s. 1:30, 5 minutes time for the DRS125s as they begin their first heat of the day. We'll be back with that in just a moment. So the first of our pre-finals for the DRS62s. Harry Bartle, who made certainly the best of the running in the qualifying session. He was first in the the first heat as well. And he's certainly getting the job done so far. I don't think he's going to have enough, unless there's something pretty radical goes on. I don't think he's going to have enough in terms of challenging for the championship. But we will see. He's, 40 points behind. So it's a big ask. He's going to need both Scarisbrick and Robinson to have some major catastrophes in the remaining 2 races for him to get himself up there. So the stream out now. The big difference this time that we are on 8 minutes plus that one final lap. It's probably going to push us just past the schedule, I think, because there's only about a 3-minute leeway just then between the 5-minute races. So you're adding those 3 minutes onto these pre-finals. Probably just going to send us a little bit behind. We're back on blue skies here. Still wet circuit. A few clouds you can just see moving away from the track. They're the ones in your picture there. At the top end of the circuit, it is blue skies. Oh, we've got a problem into turn 5. What's happened? Oh, it's contact, isn't there? Oh, boys. It's only the formation lap and we're at it already. So not just the contact, but the fact that the rest of them then fell over each other. So this will take a little bit of sorting out. This will take a little bit of, we're going to have to back right up to get them into some sort of order. They're so well spaced out here. Harry Bartle's going to have to really slow to allow for everyone else to catch up. Going to go around one more time, I think. And it's going to need at least one more rolling lap to enable everyone to get back on terms. Quite a few that were involved in that incident, just regathering their pace, just getting themselves back on terms. I don't think they'll go this time yet. It will be a false start, I'm hearing. So they'll go around once more. They'll get one more laps worth of heat and into the brakes and the tyres. So down they come towards the second chicane. Seen a few little incidents here, haven't we? It is downhill, a little bit trickier on the brakes in there. The next corner as well, this left-hander at turn 4 has caught a few out as well. Another one that's downhill, off camber, just slides away from you on the exit where they are now. There's a really nasty puddle as well on the exit of that corner if you do get that wrong. The front 2 then are on the way around to get us underway this time. Harry Bartle and Oscar Walsh on the front row. We'll have a drag race up towards turn 2. Interesting, isn't it, that the drivers that have gone to the inside of turn 2 have really struggled to carry any sort of speed through the exit of the corner. It does allow for drivers effectively to drive around the outside of them or have the more traction, the more pace. Here they come then on to start finish. Bartle and Walsh 1 and 2. Bartle's got the drop by an absolute mile. He's not the only one either, because Ewan Scott, yeah, he's going to false start that. Officials are going to false start that. Now Bartle was just far too handy on the throttle as they went through the start-finish line. He had around about 5 or 6 kart lengths. They weren't well formed. The breaker formation was evident and the starter wasn't happy, which is absolutely fair enough. As they come down towards turn 4, just getting themselves back into some sort of orderly formation. Just going to need to be a little bit slower coming off that left-hander, that final corner. hold their formation a little bit longer before they plant the throttle and head up towards the right-hander of turn 2, which is turn 1 on the first lap. Then the chicane comes back into play. So they're heading down towards the paddock corner stadium section. They'll come back into our view in just a moment, and hopefully at the third or fourth time of asking, we will get this pre-final for the DRS62s underway. They're coming through the left-hand kick now. They'll now look up towards the lights. Bartle and Scott are at the front two. It's not the great start as well. Scott's having a shocker from the outside of the front row. He really is. He's just not minding to keep up with Harry Bartle. Now, whether that's Bartle's just on the throttle, that keen on the throttle, or whether Scott is just not switched on to the start of the race, really. You want to keep yourself alongside as long as you possibly can. I'm not really sure why he would lose that much time on the outside of the start. It's fallen right into the hands of Ewan Scott, because Scott, oh, there's contact there. There's contact between a lot of the drivers. I think a couple of them are the front runners. I think one of them is indeed Oscar Walsh into the chicane. The chicane is blocked at the moment. They need to get them all sorted out. What will they do here? So they're all trying to get restarted. There's a couple of marshals and officials just pointing them all in the right direction. They are all going to get going again. The yellow flag from where they are now, which is a long way away from the incident. Not sure there needs to be a waved yellow coming out of the start-finish line. Going to be a contact warning for 1-2-1. So Connor Scarisbrick gets the contact warning now. Did that involve Scarisbrick and contact on? Did that involve? Oh, hang on a second. We're just having a look at what's going to happen here. So we've got a Battenberg flag, have we? So we've got a full course yellow. So black and yellow flag, which means that they will all. Well, the leader will become a pace car. I'm trying to work this out. Leader will become pace car. I was also keen to find out what the warning was for. So Scarisbrick was about to get a warning for contact. Now, was that contact between him and Oscar Walsh, which put Oscar Walsh into tyres into the chicane? Just speculating, but the two of them were absolutely together as they came down that back straight. So now then, everybody will slow down behind Harry Bartle, and Harry Bartle will become the pace car. They will go around for a couple of laps. I think it's probably until they have recovered a car or two. There's one car to recover. Is that the 132? Is it Benjamin Baker who's parked up? There's the warning for Scarisbrick. That'd be an interesting look again, wouldn't it, on that first chicane, second chicane, first lap. See what's happened. We are not going green yet. We'll go green at start finish, so we're not going to go green for at least another half a lap. I wonder if they're just going to try and get this other gaggle of carts on terms. We are going to go green next time round, so we're going to go green next time round. So this will be the end of the pace car. Now, does this give a chance to the likes of Ewan Scott and Connor Scarisbrick to just try and get the jump on Harry Bartle? Bartle will back them up. It'll be on Harry Bartle when he hits the throttle. He won't actually know they're going green until he comes off the left-hand kink onto start-finish line. He'll look up towards the gantry. He will see that the start marshal has a green flag in his hand, and he will hit the throttle as quickly as he possibly can do. That's how I expect it to go here. Well, there is the incident. There was the incident. Into that first chicane, second chicane, first time round. Something for the officials to pick the bones out of, I think. Right then. So, restart. We've only got, what have we got? We've got 5 minutes to go here. So there is time. It's been a frantic start to this DRS62 pre-final. Oh, Bartle's got the drop already. It's an awful start from second place. Ewan Scott, he needed to be right tucked up behind Bartle, ready for the drop. He gave Bartle 4 or 5 kart lengths. It's not the start that he would have wanted. Scarisbrick will be fuming behind him as well because they've given him away some time to Harry Bartle. And if there's anything we knew, it was that you can't afford to give Harry Bartle clear daylight at the front of this field. Scarisbrick, contact between Scarisbrick is there. Scarisbrick and Scott. Scott goes to the outside, hits a puddle. Scarisbrick is through and into second place. Scarisbrick went round the inside on the way into turn 2. Maybe just lent on him a little bit on the exit. Sure, there's that much of an issue with that, because at some point Ewan Scott has got to relinquish the place to Conor Scarisbrick. He didn't. Ended up on the curbs, on the grass. So 1-1-2 under investigation. Lewin Aid. So something going on there as well. Lewin Aid is all the way back in 12th place at the moment. So Bartel, Scarisbrick, Karbalov. So what a good start from Liam Karbalov. He's managed to get himself up into 3rd place. Oscar Cole down to 4th. Ewan Scott, has been a horrible start to this race for Ewan Scott. He's now down in 5th place. Cruz Dalton is behind him. Nat Johnston behind them. And Jack Robinson, the only other driver really that should be pushing for the championship, all the way down in 8th at the moment. He's trying to find a way past the number 84 car, or 64 of Cruz Dalton at the moment. Nat Johnston is ahead of them. The rest of them stream through. So then, Bartel, Scarisbrick, Karbalov. The gap between 1st and 2nd is just around about 2 seconds. So that restart, that eagerness on that restart from Harry Bartel's absolutely done the job. He's got himself away. It was a masterclass in how to restart a race as the pace card. And he's out front at the moment. Scarisbrick, just keep an eye on the time between these two as well, because a 1:01.1 for Bartel, a 1:02.1 for Scarisbrick, and a 1:03.3 for Oscar Cole. So there's a second in lap time between 1st and 2nd. There's a further second back to Oscar Cole, and then Karbalov is 4th. Scott and Robinson. Robinson's made up a couple of places, hasn't he? Just starting to come back on the attack is Jack Robinson. As the rest of them stream through, that's the 1:25 there of Oscar Cole, finding his way past Liam Karbalov on the inside of the right-hander at turn 5. Their race leader's just gone past us now. He is clear, and he's clear on a 1:01.5. He's still lapping about 6/10 quicker than Scarisbrick. So Bartel is considerably quicker than everybody else out there at the moment, which made it even more important for them to try and attack him in the early stages when he was within touching distance. Now he's got away, and we've got a yellow flag. Oh, what's going to happen here? What's happened here? Is that Scarisbrick? It's not, it's the 1-3 is it, of Jackson Lane? Just have a quick look. It was a green helmet, wasn't it? It was caught out. It was a 4. It was a spin from Jack Robinson, and then behind them comes Jackson Lane, and he spins. So it was just that concertina effect, really. One spun, it made the next one jump on the brakes and span the back end round, and then Jackson Lane did the same as they went through the first hairpin. So no change at the front, but there is a change for those positions in 6th, 7th and 8th, and Jack Robinson, he will not have done his championship challenge any good at all. He will drop down a few more places down the field. There is Bartel, there is Scarisbrick. It was the green helmet that caught me out. Looking back to Jackson Lane in that first chicane last time round. Then the battle for 3rd and 4th is Scott and Karbalov. Let's see how they've sorted themselves out from here then. So Oscar Cole is still 5th, but now Nat Johnston and Zach McDonald are 6th and 7th. Aaron Haywood is all the way up into 8th place, and Robinson has rejoined in 9th. Indigo Pickering is 10th, and Joe Wood is 11th, and Jackson Lane has dropped down to 14th behind Oliver Harrison and Oscar Walsh. So we've got now, what have we got in terms of, we're on the last lap, aren't we, for Harry Bartel? Very little danger for him out there at the moment. So Bartel heads through. He's going to head through and complete another lap. He's going to head through and complete the win. Is he? No, one more to go. One more lap to go. This is the last lap this time. Oh, Bartel's missed the chicane. Bartel's missed the chicane. What happens here? So Harry Bartel has just missed the chicane. He overcooked it on the way in. He has not taken the first chicane. What happens now? So is that a lap? What's going on here? Do the drivers know? It's the last lap. So Bartle is now continuing, but he has missed the chicane. Now he's looking over his shoulder. Now he puts his head down. So he knows that he's still racing. The checkered flag was not out. The checkered flag has not been waved, so he shouldn't have thought anything otherwise. What will happen here? So Bartle's going to come down. He's going to come round and take the checkered flag this time round. But he has missed the chicane. Now, is that a lap penalty? It certainly used to be in old money. It was a lap penalty for missing the chicane. Bartle's going to come through. This is going to take someone picking this. Bartle comes through then, crosses the line. Second place is Conor Scarisbrick. Third is going to be Ewan Scott, comes through now ahead of Liam Karblov. Good drive from him. And then there's going to be this big gaggle of carts behind. So 125 Oscar Cole comes through. Then Nat Johnston, Jack Robinson makes one place up to 7th. Zach McDonald down to 8th. And Aaron Heawood is in 9th. What happens here? So we'll try and find out what will happen. We certainly missed the chicane on the way through the on that last lap. There's no real reason to do that, whether he thought the race was finished or not. There's no real reason for him not to take the chicane unless he just overcooked it on the way in. So we'll wait and see how the bones get picked out of that, because in a moment's time we'll be looking on to our second of the pre-finals for the DRS 125, which is coming up straight after these carts are cleared. So the DRS62s look to me like they're all on the wet tyre, on the grooved wets. And they're about ready to start their grand final. It's been a manic schedule, hasn't it? Obviously, because of the rain delay earlier on. Those that joined us late won't know that we lost 2 or 3 hours of this morning's running due to the deluge, due to the track being flooded. From there, we've had a compacted schedule, which has worked really well, it has to be said. And now we're in a place where we are about to get underway with our grand finals. Our grand finals will be 10 minutes plus a lap. A couple of last-minute adjustments being made on the dummy grid. Harry Bartle having a little bit of pressure taken out of those tyres, I would imagine. It is certainly drier. There is parts of this circuit that are dry. There is parts of this circuit where the drivers will be able to take their normal racing line. There is probably 3 parts of the circuit that are still significantly damp. The way out of the final corner onto the start-finish straight is very treacherous. The way into turn 2 has caught a couple out. I'd say that 5 is still a little, 4 and 5 are a little bit slippery as well. But you can see they've all still got the wet tyre, the groove tyre. And let's see how this develops in terms of the championship. Has anybody managed to claw back those points on Conor Scarisbrick? We'll obviously get the championship points post the last races. The championship winners will all be announced in due course after all the points have been tallied up, after all the drop scores have been accounted for, after all the scrutineering and post-race checks have been done. Then we'll be in a position to announce who the 3 champions of the Daniel Ricciardo series for 2021 are. But this is the last chance. 3 races to go, 3 opportunities to potentially turn a championship challenge around, to potentially try and get on terms, to potentially try and improve your final position. Lots of points on offer in these grand finals, and points for fastest lap as well. So ultimately, 130 points on offer. Let's see what the DRS62 is. Now, track conditions is going to be important here. So let's just have a quick look at how they circulate. where the areas are in which they might struggle. It's actually looking okay, isn't it, through 5, which is where they are now. A little bit damp maybe, but they've all seemed to have decent traction. I think it's fairly dry where they are now as well. It's just this part where the leaders are, just coming on to start finish. They just a little bit damp. They're starting to maybe be a dry line, but if you go offline there, you are in big trouble. I wonder if any of the DRS 100s or the DRS 125s are thinking, I'll have a risk at this. I'll have a risk at there being a dry line. There's no real cloud cover anywhere really. It's actually quite a nice day now here in Lincolnshire. But you can see there's still wet patches around. It is wet into 2, isn't it? It's wet into there. So that's what you'd have to manage if you're on the slick tyre. And at what point do you get to the tipping point of being brave enough to make that decision? It's a tough ask, isn't it? These young DRS62 drivers are still on the wet tyre at the moment. I think all of them are on the wet tyre at the moment. It's 10 minutes this race, plus 1 final lap. Not just championship points at stake, but obviously the right of winning, the prestige of winning the main final here at the last round. An accumulation of a season's worth of development for these young drivers. All comes down to a grand final here at Fulbeck in changeable conditions. The front row then, Bartle and Scarisbrick. Wonder if Bartle's doing enough to move himself up to second in the championship. He's got the best of the starts. It's a bit messy, but he has got the best of the starts. Oh no, we're going round again. False start. I thought it was a bit messy. Bartle was maybe a little bit keen. Broke formation quite early. So Scarisbrick will be there, a bit of a sigh of relief, because he will now be able to have another go at attacking Harry Bartle. He'll certainly want to be alongside at the very least when they come round the final corner. Try and cross the line level with Harry Bartle, and then they can squabble all the way up the hill and into turn 2. They are going to get there quick at turn 2, and it is going to be slippery. So let's keep an eye on the drivers and how they manage the conditions into turn 2. It's one of the things that a couple of the DRS 100 drivers struggled with as well. There's a dry line through 7 here. Really difficult to see, isn't it? Here they come then. Scarisbrick and Bartle. Bartle's got the best of it. This is really messy again. Really messy. Yeah, really messy. False start from the officials. It's not right. They're breaking formation far too early. On the throttle far too quickly. Yeah, what happens now? It sounds like they're going to have one more attempt at this. See, Bartle's got to be careful, because Bartle is undoubtedly trying to get the drop on Scarisbrick. It was interesting because the last time round, Scarisbrick just looked across the track and said to say, what am I meant to do here? He got the drop by some 2 or 3 kart lengths, and all of a sudden Scarisbrick's in a battle with the drivers in behind on the second row. It shouldn't really be the case. He should be able to go through level, or at least only, at least half a kart length behind Harry Bartle. At some point, obviously the officials withhold the right to apply penalties if the drivers can't put themselves into the right formation, and the driver that dictates that formation and dictates that pace is Harry Bartle. So maybe just needs to be a little bit careful here, Harry. Make sure this is a bit more of an even start. They're round the final corner. They come under us here in race control, but it's messy again. It's horrendous. It's an awful start, it has to be said, from these young drivers. They are excellent the majority of the time. That was terrible. They were underway, but they were all breaking formation. They were far too fast. They weren't in any sort of orderly fashion as they came down. The result of that is that Harry Bartle has got out in front, and Conor Scarisbrick is still second. Behind them, we've got contact in the chicane. A lot of contact in the chicane. We've got one driver that's missed the chicane, which I think is Jackson Lane. I think Jackson Lane Jackson Lane has missed the chicane. The rest of them have blocked the chicane. So we've got full course yellow. So what we've seen here is we've seen the full course yellow come out every time that the chicane has been blocked. So whilst, just in case, by the time the leaders get back round there and it's still not clear, they have wisely, the officials, used the full course yellow flag, which is with a yellow and black checkered flag, or the quartered flag, and the leader then becomes the pace car. He's already done this once, Harry Bartle, hasn't he? And at the time it was Ewan Scott who couldn't get on terms with him at the restart. Let's see if Conor Scarisbrick can do a better job at keeping hold of Harry Bartle through this restart. So we are going to go green at the next time round as well. So Bartle will back them up here. He'll look to sprint away at the front of this field. He'll look to try and stop any attacks from Conor Scarisbrick. So it's Scarisbrick in second, then Ewan Scott, then Oscar Walsh, then Jack Robinson and Oscar Cole, then Zach McDonald, then Nat Johnston is in 8th, and Benjamin Baker is 9th. Now Jackson Lane is 10th, but has come through the chicane, so we'll see what penalty is applied for that. So leaders back things up. We've got one driver just getting out of the car on the way into the second chicane, but everyone else seems to be okay. Here we go then, he's got the drop again, Bartle, hasn't he? They've all switched off and Harry Bartle has done a masterclass in restarts once again. The trick for the boys behind is just to stay so tight and so close on the back bumper that as soon as he hits the accelerator, you are pushing him along. They haven't done, they've fallen asleep. Bartle's taken advantage and he's given himself 2 or 3 kart lengths as they headed through the chicane for the first time. They're now down the back straight into the second chicane. Harry Bartle there, I'm really keen to have a look at the lines and just have a look at how obvious it is that the drivers are taking the dry line, how much they get understeer. He looks like he's just driving the dry at the moment, Harry Bartle. Let's just keep an eye on this because this is important for the DRS 125 drivers. It's important for the DRS 100 drivers as well in terms of what tyre choice they will select. It could be a couple of dry races at the end here. It will be a bit of a major upset based on what we've seen in terms of the weather so far today. But the sun is shining here. How are they into 1? Yeah, they're pretty good into turn 1. Certainly look to be a dry line now. You can see it on the racetrack, the different coloured of the dry. This is a little bit slippy. There you go. There's the problem. So there is the issue for the DRS 125 and 100 drivers. Turn 2. So turn 2, which is turn 1 on the first lap, is still, I think, now the wettest part of the circuit. I think it's the last place to dry here at Fulbeck, and it could catch a couple out, so they've got to be careful around there. I think the rest of this lap looks like it's pretty much a dry line, and Harry Bartle is taking advantage of that. He has a little look over his right shoulder as he heads out of turn 5. He'll see that Scarisbrick is there under some pressure now from Ewan Scott. Oscar Walsh is 4th, Jack Robinson is 5th, and Zach McDonald is up 1 into 6. Jackson Lane is up a couple into 8th place. Other movers, Aaron Hayward's up into 11th as well at the expense of Indigo Pickering. And Jackson Lane's made another place ahead of Oscar Cole, who's now down into 8th, and then Nat Johnston's behind them. And Cruz Dalton is up into 12th, with Oliver Harrison 13th and Joe Wood 14th. Indigo Pickering's had some sort of problem on that previous lap and rejoins now in 16th place. And only Liam Karbalov, who hasn't started the race, is the last on the running order. So 16 running, 1 retirement by the looks of it, which is Karbalov. We've got, what have we got? Just around half distance remaining here. And we've got a penalty for Jackson Lane. That will be for going through the chicane on the first lap. So interesting. I'm just listening to some of the information being passed by the officials. So the meeting is still wet, so it's classified as wet. So the drivers have to take the wet tyre. So until the meeting is declared open, they cannot change tyres. So I don't think the 125s have the option or the choice of changing tyre for their final in a minute. It's going to be some very well-worn wet tyres at the end of that race, I can tell you. So I don't think they have the option. What I do think is I think that the DRS 100s then will have the option of using a dry tyre later on this afternoon in around about half an hour's time. So that could be an interesting dry race. So back to the DRS 62s and back to the battle for the lead, because Harry Bartle has just started to lose a little bit of time to Conor Scarisbrick, and Scarisbrick is now within a kart length or so. Ewan Scott is second. Now, how does Conor Scarisbrick play this? Because he's leading the championship, so he doesn't need to do anything silly, so it certainly doesn't need to get involved in an incident with Harry Bartle, but he'll undoubtedly want to win the race as well. So at what point does he push the attack button, or does he push the attack button? Does he sit inside him, sit behind him and say, right, I'll win the championship from here? I think they'll have done their maths. They'll know everyone will have had the calculators out in their pits, and will know what they required or what they needed. I don't think Conor Scarisbrick has to win this race to win the championship by my very, very rough calculations. But I'm sure he would love to, and I'm sure he will attack Harry Bartle at some point. There is the problem for the drivers that are looking at the slick tyre. Turn 2, you can see when the drivers turn into turn 2, they get a handful of understeer on the slippery surface, and it means that they just fall back a little bit. They just struggle to wrestle the car into the corner, and that loses them a little bit of time. I don't think anywhere else really it's particularly wet. I think everywhere else it's fairly, there's a dry line at least. Off the dry line, that is a different story. So off the racing line, that's a little bit trickier. But at the moment, there's not an overtaking manoeuvre being put on to Harry Bartle, and Scarisbrick is just trying his best to put some pressure on. They're going over start finish now. How much we got left? We've got 1 minute and 45 seconds, so probably 3 laps from here for this last race. Not just the last race of the day for the DRS62s, the last race of the series, the last race of the championship, the last chance to win one of these races. And how much would Ewan Scott love to win this final race as well? Ewan Scott, who is 5th in the championship, came into this round 5th. Is this the chance for Scarisbrick into 4? No, he decides better of it, and then they swing out to the left and into 5. Head round the long right-hander. And now Scarisbrick starts to send little waved messages to the drivers in behind. Look at Oscar Walsh as well. He's really well placed, isn't he? Oscar Walsh just cruised onto the back of Ewan Scott. Jack Robinson is 5th. A little further back in 5th. He's not even come into view yet, has he? Jack Robinson, there he is now. He's come into view on your screen. Jackson Lane is 6th. I think Jackson Lane is going to take a penalty, though, at the end of this race. He missed the chicane on lap 1. Then Zach McDonald and Nat Johnston and Benjamin Baker up again into 9th, and Oscar Cole down into 10th. So next time round it will be the last lap. Where does Scarisbrick make this manoeuvre? Tell you what Bartle does, he covers off that inside line into the second chicane ever so well as they drop down the hill. Into turn 4 they go once more. Is there a grandstand finish here for the DRS62s? Is there a big finale for these drivers? There's 4 of them in the battle for the lead here. Will Scarisbrick force the issue? Doesn't need to force the issue. But will he want to win this final race? Here they go then. Last lap, Scarisbrick to the outside. Try and slingshot through, there'll be no way. It's an easy corner to defend the first chicane. Oh, it's contact! There's contact with Scarisbrick and the 2 in behind as well. Scarisbrick has kept going, and I think he's going to finish. He's going to keep going, but oh, that could have been an absolute heart-stopping moment. What if that had affected his championship challenge, Conor Scarisbrick? I think there was some contact there. I'm not quite sure. Let's just see. I think, well, there is contact there. Oh, there's a lot of contact there, to be honest. That is going to need a bit. It's actually, the contact is from Oscar Walsh. Oscar Walsh has gone past Ewan Scott, overcooked on the way in, and tagged the back of Conor Scarisbrick, so that will be seen by the officials. Undoubtedly, they will pick the bones out of that, but it was a hugely over-ambitious move from Oscar Walsh. He was so late on the brakes. He just cut Conor Scarisbrick in half as they went through the second part of the chicane. What it's meant is there is no doubt of our winner, Harry Bartle. His last lap was much easier than he probably thought it was going to be. Bartle has then won it. I think Scarisbrick has won the championship. He's certainly acting that way in second place. We'll get confirmation of that at some point in the near future. Scarisbrick comes home in second. Third place for Oscar Walsh. Jack Robinson is fourth. I'm sure the Oscar Walsh situation will be reviewed, I am sure. Ewan Scott is fifth. Jackson Lane is sixth. Zach McDonald is seventh. So the final race for the DRS 62s of this 2021 Daniel Ricciardo Series is won by Harry Bartle. We will wait and see what that means in terms of the championship. Second place on the road is Conor Scarisbrick. Third is Oscar Walsh. There will undoubtedly be some bones to pick out of that one. But what an entertaining finish from these young drivers. We will turn our attention to the DRS 125s and their grand final, which is just around the corner.
Welcome everyone to the presentation for round 6, the final round of the Daniel Ricciardo Series here in Lincolnshire at Fulbeck. This presentation is for today's racing. The presentation for the championship placings will take place in due course, and the DRS staff will be in touch with all the competitors regarding that. Let's start with our DRS 62s. All the drivers today have competed in some pretty tough weather conditions and applied themselves fantastically well. Our youngest of the classes, the DRS 62s, in third place, number 121, Conor Scarisbrick. In second place, and also achieving our top rookie award, number 120, Oscar Walsh. And today's winner, number 6, Harry Bartle. Ladies and gentlemen, your top 3 DRS 62 drivers, and a little bit extra as well. Well done, boys. On to from our youngest to our oldest drivers, the DRS 125s. In third place, number 318, Oliver Owen. In second, number 2, Matthew Pearce.
Cheers, thank you.
And today's winner, untroubled throughout the day, number 283, Sam Faulkner. Ladies and gents, the top 3 for the DRS 125s. And finally then, our DRS 100s, providing once again some top quality entertainment, some great driving, and a good result at the end as well. In third place, number 147, Sherry-Ann Powell. Second place, about 5 laps short, I think. Number 5, Dylan Briley. And today's winner, and he did just disappear into the distance, number 135, Maximilian Solarski. Ladies and gents, the DRS 100 top 3. And the top rookie for the DRS 100s, Ethan Critchley. Cool.
Everyone come up.
And that's it from us here at Fulbeck for the final round of the Daniel Ricciardo series. The overall prize presentation will be later on in the year at a fantastic event for all of the young drivers. What we must say is that the driving standards have been fantastic. The entertainment's been superb. This single make category, this single make championship has once again really delivered. From all of us here at the Daniel Ricciardo series, we will see you next year. And if there's something that you liked in terms of what you've seen, you think you could do, you could be seen on that podium in next year's championship, get in touch with the Daniel Ricciardo series. From all of us here, goodbye.